Hangouts, and then it became Periscope and Pal Talk and Hangouts, and now it's now it's YouTube, Periscope, and Hangouts and Pal Talk. It's everything. Welcome, Wally. Walter, praise the Most High. So it's everything now. We have every. I think we got everything here. Praise the Most High. Yeah. So we have been studying Isaiah. We've been studying Isaiah. We're going to continue to study Isaiah. Obviously, it's chapter 29 tonight. Just want to look over. Okay, praise the Most High. I just want to look over some scriptures as we're getting started before, as we normally do. I'm going to start off in the book of Romans. Start off in the book of Romans. And let's see, where do I want to go here? Where's the Most High leading me? Okay, yes, I'm going to start in the book of Romans, and I'm going to start. Ooh, there's a lot in here, but I'm going to start at chapter 11. I mean, sometimes I look and there's so much that I can go over that's relating to what we're studying. Um, but I'm going to start at chapter 11, Romans chapter 11. Praise the Most High. Yeah. So I just want to also just announce for those of you that are here on Friday that for the duration of the coronavirus, we will continue to have Wednesday night studies. I don't know what's going to happen, once this thing is over and everybody's going back to their jobs or whatever. But as long as I am home at this point, we're going to continue to have Wednesday night studies. I believe that they're timely for the time situations where we are in terms of our history, in terms of the end of this age. And I also speaking of that, the end of the age. The translation. When we talked this past Wednesday night about how Messiah was asked by the disciples, when shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world, right? Now, that's an interesting translation, because the word world in the Greek for that word is the word age, the end of the age, the end of the age, which I think actually captures the situation a little bit more, because actually the earth is not going to end. Like, there's going to be an earth, always there's going to be an earth, okay? But the age in which we are living, the age of sin, is going to come to an end. The age of Babylon and its wickedness and its unrighteousness is going to come to an end. So the end of the age is what we really deal with. Now, some translations use it, but like I said, even though, like, what happens, some people might mean well when they're trying to create a Bible translation. But as I said, if you got to be very careful, people. I don't care what kind of PhDs they have. See, brothers and sisters, let me just explain a little bit real quick. The Bible wasn't written with people of PhDs and degrees. It wasn't put together like that. The Bible was written by prophets of the Most High. Okay, now it was put together by these scholars in English, but in terms of the words of the book, that word is put together by Hebrew prophets, which means it's put together by the Father's Spirit. Okay, and of course the Bible does say that holy men of Yah spake as they were moved by the Father's Spirit, the set apart Spirit, the Holy Ghost. So we can't expect that somebody that's gone to some, theological seminary is going to be able to put together a Bible that they think is better than this one, the King James, which is a direct translation. Okay, can't expect that. So that's why people got to be careful. And the thing is, like I said, the most important doctrine that is by my conviction, I will say it that way. The most important doctrine by my conviction is the doctrine of righteousness. Righteousness by faith. And the reason it's the most important doctrine is because it's the teaching that shows the follower of that doctrine how to overcome all your sin. What could be more important? See, brothers and sisters, listen. Before we get into Romans 11 here, let me tell you. Father is intending on getting rid of sin. Messiah paid the penalty for the sin of his people. Okay? For this, if his people had never sinned, he would not have to come. But he paid the penalty for the sin of his people. All right? The sin of his people. So that being the case, if he provides a way for any human being that's interested to overcome all their sin, I would think that that's the most important thing. Because brothers and sisters, as we know, sin chains us up. It chains us up. It causes us to be captive to habits we hate. It causes us to do things that we don't like. It causes us to become people that we don't like. Because it's not ordained to be on the earth. It was never ordained to be on the earth. The earth was not made to be a host to sin. So the Father, through his Messiah, has made a way whereby we can overcome sin by receiving a spirit. You see, brothers and sisters, listen. Everything you do in life involves a spirit. Either when people don't realize it or not. Everything you do in this life involves a spirit. Now, you recognize it when it's extreme. Like when you're extremely angry, that's a spirit. When you're extremely in love, that's a spirit. Everything in this life involves a spirit. The spirit of the Most High moved on the earth before we was even existing. And he put his spirit in Adam that made him alive. So he is also, and again, when Eve and Adam, they sinned, another spirit entered the atmosphere, a poisonous spirit of Asatan and sin. So Father makes a way for the sinner to overcome that spirit. And how do you do it? By his spirit. That's how he does it. By his spirit. So to overcome all your sin is to confess, first of all, because part of the sin problem is a pride problem. We talked about that. Part of the sin problem is a pride problem. So he brings us to humility, and we accept our need of a change. That's called repentance. And then when we come to him in that state, he gives us his spirit. That's called born again. And then what you want? You want to do what's right now. Now you want to do what's right. You want to be a different person. You want to be a person that's in harmony with your creator. Because you know what? Listen, that's what he created Adam to be. Adam was supposed to be in harmony with his creator. He was in harmony with his creator and in harmony with the planet, in harmony with all the animals, in harmony with all nature. Him and Eve in harmony with each other. Everything was in perfect balance and harmony. But sin disrupted that. So he has made, so that's why I say the doctrine of righteousness by faith is the most important doctrine. And the problem I have with all these translations is they take that doctrine out. The only Bible that has it is the King James. And believe me, I've read them. And I've gotten to the point where somebody come out with some translation. I don't care if they got the Yah's name in there in Hebrew letters or whatever. First thing I'm looking at is certain scriptures that tell me the doctrine of righteousness by faith. Because you could know Yah's name and be lost. How do I know that? Did not the scribes and Pharisees kill the Messiah? Are not they our ancestors? Did they not know the Father's name? Were they not Israelites? So you can know the Father's name and be lost. Knowing his name is important, but that don't save you. That don't change your heart of sin. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's good to know the Father's name. I like these brothers trying to make a Bible with his name in it. I got the, what's it called? The restored name. What's it called, Isha? Is it called She always got to remember. What's that thing called? Is it called the restored name translation, Isha? Renewed name. Okay. She renewed name translation. There you go. That's right. The renewed name KJV. That's the. They don't have that in print that I know, but it's in Discover Bible, renewed name King James version. I downloaded from Discover Bible, and I like to use that because they did not change the verses that have the doctrine of justification by faith. They just changed the name, and they changed a couple of things. Like instead of grace, they use favor and stuff like that, and that's fine. But the doctrine of righteousness by faith is very clearly still in there. But they don't. That hasn't been printed that I know. That Bible has been printed. Okay, but that's the most important doctrine, and that's why I don't just look at any Bible. But the scriptures say, "Holy men of Yah were moved by His Spirit." So you can't just take somebody that went to some just because their name got PhD after it and they know what they. Matter of fact, let me tell you something. Let me say something to you. If a brother got a PhD in a religion, more than likely he don't know nothing. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Look, what was the apostles Paul's PhD in? Did the Messiah have a PhD? What about John the Baptist? Where was his PhD from? Where did he get his master's of divinity? Jeremiah, Moses, Noah, Isaiah, where did they get their PhDs from? Let me tell you something. You go to some, especially all of these religious institutions are by man. We already talked about man. We're gonna talk more about man in Isaiah. Isaiah got a lot to say about man. We already seen it. We got more. But you go to some institution by man, gonna try to learn about the divinity of the Most High. You kidding me? Seriously? You just disqualified yourself. I'm trying to be honest with you. Now listen, I got 3 degrees. I got a degree in finance. I got a degree in applied mathematics. I got a degree in information systems. But I ain't even think about going to get no degree in religion. I ain't even think about that. You know why? Because even a fool like me know you can't get no degree in religion from man and think you know the Most High. Come on. Even a fool like me know that. So you can't go to some theological seminary and think you're gonna create some translation that you think is more sound. Come on now. Stop. Stop. This is not from man. And it's trusting in man that getting us in trouble. That's what got us in this mess. Now, Romans chapter 11. Let's start with that. Because this is important now. Romans chapter 11. Oh, man, there's so much I want to go through here. Oh man, okay. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start at verse 1. I'm gonna start at verse 1, Isha. I'm gonna start at verse 1. I'm gonna have to do the whole chapter. I'm gonna have to do the whole chapter. I'm gonna start at verse 1. I'm gonna have to do the whole chapter. Okay. So let's go from verse 1. Let's start off. Let's go from verse 1 to 4. From verse 1 to 4. I said then, hath Yah cast away his people? Yah forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Yah hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture saith of Allah, how he maketh intercession to Yah against Israel, saying, Master, they have killed thy prophets and digged down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. But what saith the answer of Yah unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men which have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. What is he saying? Don't be acting like the Israelites ain't gonna be no more just because you don't see them. Just because the devil has convinced you they don't exist no more, or convinced you that a different people is them that's not. Don't don't start getting stupid. He always gonna have a remnant of his people. And listen, when he talks about a remnant, listen now. He's not just talking about bloodline remnant now. He's talking about he's gonna have. He said, "I'm gonna have a people that's." When he said his people, not only the bloodline, people that's faithful to him from the bloodline. He's always gonna have that. The earth is not gonna be without them ever. Why? Because he put out the word. because he put out the word. We talked about this. When he speaks a word, it's done. The universe works in harmony with the word of the creator when he speaks a word. And it's going to make it come to pass. So he's going to always have a remnant of the bloodline. Always. And all through history, he's had them. Just because you ain't read about them all, he's always had them and always will. Okay. Let us continue. Romans chapter 11. Let's go from verse 5. Let's go from verse 5 down to verse 11. Romans chapter 11, from verse 5 to verse 11. Thank you, Isha. Even so, then, at this present time also there is a remnant, according to the election of grace. And if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. Let me just explain. Brother Paul, like Kafa said, sometimes he puts stuff together that seem to be hard to understand. But basically, what he's trying to say here is that it's by the word of the Father that you're going to have the remnant. They didn't do nothing of themselves to stay a remnant. It's him. Therefore, they didn't earn the right to survive. He caused them to survive. Because you remember what Isaiah said earlier when we studied Isaiah. He said, if it wasn't that he had mercy on us, we'd have been like Sodom and Gomorrah. He left us a very small remnant. He always will. Always will. Okay? And you're going to be surprised in the resurrection of the righteous how many of them remnants there was that you didn't think was remnants. You're going to be surprised. Some people you thought was bad, but they actually worked for Yah. You're going to be surprised. And some people you thought was good that you ain't going to see. Because his thoughts are not our thoughts. Okay. What then? Israel have not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, Yah hath given them the spirit of slumber. See, praise Yah, because this is what Isaiah, this is what he's quoting here is Isaiah 29. You think, and I'm telling you, I did not plan this. He is quoting right here in Romans 11, the same Isaiah 29 we're going to study. It's amazing. Eyes that they should not see and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see and bow down their back always. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Yah forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come to the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. That's pretty plain, isn't it? So through the fall of the Israelite people, the stumbling, Yah sent Israelite prophets like Paul. He's an Israelite prophet. See, I don't care what these brothers out here talking about, Paul is not inspired and these are letters and blah, 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 blah. Listen, man, this brother, this Negro right here is a prophet. Paul. It's difficult for me to understand how can somebody call himself a teacher of this word, right? And doubt this word. Does that make sense to y'all? Like, how can somebody say they're a teacher of this word and doubt what it says? And instead of saying, I don't understand what Paul is saying, they sit up there talking about Paul is not a prophet or the New Testament is not inspired. Why don't these Negroes just say they don't know? Because they don't know. This here, Paul is a prophet. He's a prophet and an apostle. He has so many revelations from the Most High. The Most High had to give him the thorn in the flesh. You remember that? Had to give him a thorn in the flesh, which apparently had to do with his eyes, if you read Galatians. Had to humble him because of all the revelations that have been given him. Revelations are given to people like a prophet. He done already showed you he's an Israelite, tribe of Benjamin, son of Abraham. Anyway, the Israelites did not stumble that they should fall. We're going to talk more about their fall later. But they didn't stumble so that they could be non-existent. They stumbled so that the apostle can be sent to the Gentiles with the truth. Now, let's break that down a little further. The first century, the Gentiles received this truth and they became grafted in, as this chapter is going to tell us, into the Israelite nation. But sometime later, you and I know that we've been studying this, the Gentiles decided to make their own religion. They decided to turn Messiah into Jesus. And not only that, they decided to turn him from a Hebrew-looking man to a Caucasian-looking man. And they created a whole religion called Christianity. And it's become the strong delusion. They done went too far, didn't they? That is one of the reasons, I'm just saying, for the awakening of the true Hebrews. Because as you see, he sent the apostle Paul as the apostle to the Gentiles. The Gentiles had this truth. And after a couple, and it's not unusual. Listen, we know what happened when the Israelites went into the land, right? I mean, in some cases, humans are humans. The election is of Yah, not of us. So when Joshua led the Israelites into the promised land, they was faithful when Joshua was alive. They was faithful to the elders that outlived Joshua. They were faithful in the third generation, but then them rascals in the fourth generation started worshiping Baal. Look at the book of Judges. I told you everything. So that's not unusual. So here we have same thing. Paul gives these brothers the truth. They get grafted in. First century they find, second century they find, third century they find. All of a sudden, fourth century, here come Constantine. Here come the compromise. All of a sudden you got Christianity. You got Roman Catholicism, you got Catholicism, Christianity. Then later on, white Jesus. Then the worship of Mary, the goddess. All that came. Been around a while too, hasn't it? But now there's an awakening of the true Hebrews, the bloodline, that remnant that's left that he has not forgotten. We're going to talk more about that. And that awakening is going to bring this truth to the world. You know how Messiah say, but this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. Y'all heard that one, right? And then shall the end come. Well, listen, if it was the Christian gospel, tell the truth. Hasn't that been preached in all the world? Hasn't it? Come on now. Mormons be sending people out there every year, hundreds of them. Jehovah's Witnesses too. Catholics too. They got people all over the world. But I think we can all agree the situation is worse. It hasn't gotten better, has it? The situation is worse. So it's not that gospel. And he said the gospel of the kingdom. You got to understand, or one who's looking at this should understand what the whole Bible has to say about the kingdom. It's a kingdom of the Israelite nation. That's the kingdom. It's a kingdom of the 12 tribes of Israel. No, they're not Yafet. They're from Sem. It's a kingdom where David's going to rule in Jerusalem, Messiah's going to rule the earth, and Father going to rule the universe. That's the order of things. It's a kingdom that's going to be set up after this age is wiped out, and there's a new age of righteousness. So the gospel of that kingdom you have to look for. Okay, that's the gospel of the kingdom you got to look for. And brothers and sisters, I'm getting convicted. And I think I told y'all, one of the things that corrupt is money. Money corrupts. It does. I think we can agree. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. What we can see in terms of religion is absolute corruption when it comes to money. Absolute corruption. So he has impressed me to not accept donations. And he has employed. I'm working, so I don't have to accept donations. I don't know what situation gonna be like in the future, but he has me working and I'm glad. You know why I'm glad? Because if you take money off the table, what you got? If I don't want your money, what I want, and I don't have no building. I'm in my bedroom. I don't got no building. I'm not trying to bring you to no organization. So what I'm doing then? I'm definitely not. If you look at my YouTube channel, you know I ain't got no million followers. So it ain't about that. So what it's about then? It's for the glory of the Father. Okay? It's for the glory of the Father. That's all. And I'm not the only one. There are a few of us, though, very few. Not looking for your money, not looking for your membership in our organization, looking for your heart to be given to your Father, that you can be grafted into the nation. See? Because money corrupts, man. It's a corrupting influence. Corruption all around. It's filthy. Yeah, that's right. And how can I or anyone else that has the truth of the righteousness of the Father charge you money? I mean, who earned that righteousness? Nobody. Nobody earns it. He even just said that even the election of the Israelites is by grace. We just read that. So how could you charge money for that? Is it not a privilege to be called to teach this truth? Isn't that a privilege? I think it is. I think it's like the highest honor. Really, I think it's higher than any president, any king to teach this truth on planet Earth. I believe that. Most High knows my conscience. That's how I feel about it. So I don't understand how can somebody say, you need to give me money for this ministry. If the ministry is of Yah, why he need, printed dollars for? I don't understand it. Seriously. Trying to receive tithe for what? People that receive tithe. I used to receive tithe. I told y'all the story before. You know how I started receiving tithe? Because I've been convicted on this for a while. I was in a house. This is before the 2008 crash, sometime around that time. I lost that house to foreclosure. That was the second house I lost to foreclosure. I've been through everything. You can't tell me nothing. Anyway, my business failed. We ain't had no money coming in. So a sister called me. She emailed me. She said, I need your address. I've been impressed to send you a check. And I said, no, I'm not taking your money. So then she said, what if the Lord told me this? She's a Christian. So she said, what if the Lord told me to send it to you? I said, then he'll make a way for you to send it to me, but I'm not going to give you my address. Man, a couple of days later, there was a check in my mailbox. She went and called everybody till somebody had my address. And then she gave my address to other people and checks started coming in the mail. And it was weird because after we lost the house, and then that was like we lost the house in 2000, and at the end of 2010 we actually lost the house. We ended up staying with some brothers in their house in their living room because we were homeless. Because you know why? And just to tell you, the Most High had to spank me. He had to. I needed it. I praise him for that. He will humble you when you need. You know what I'm saying? He will humble you. So anyway, after that, I didn't get a job until 2012, and that job paid like a third of what I had been making before when I was self-employed. I was humble. And when I got that job, as soon as I got that job, all them checks stopped. All them checks stopped. And I knew what was up. The Most High decided I'm gonna give you some money from these people for now, but then when you get a job, after I humbled you, I'm gonna stop the checks because I didn't need them no more. See? And ever since then, I've been working. But from 2012 to now, praise the Most, I've been working. So I haven't needed it, and I don't want it. See? Praise the Most High, Yah. So anyway, let's continue. We're in Romans chapter 11. Let me start from verse 12. So it provoked the Gentiles provoked the Israelites to jealousy, right? Okay, we've seen that happen already, right? We're watching that. So now Romans chapter 11. Let's go from verse 12, Isha, down to verse 17. Romans 11. from verse 12 to verse 17. Watch. Watch. For I speak to you Gentiles. So now he's zeroing in on the people that are not the bloodline of Abraham, but have received the Hebrew Messiah. Okay. That's what he's zeroing in. So I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. The word apostle means to be sent, and not just to be sent by the Spirit, which it is, be sent by the Spirit, but the apostle is sent by a face-to-face command from the Messiah. That's how that's why there's only 12 of them. People should be careful when they use that term apostles, because each of the 12 was called face to face, where Messiah met them and said, "Follow me." He didn't do that with everybody. He didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So each of the 12 he called personally, and so the 11, after Judas, hanged himself, they picked a man to be the 12th one, but that wasn't the one. They drew straws, they picked a man. But then later on, the apostle Shaul, on his way to Damascus, ran into somebody, right? He ran into somebody. and Messiah said, I have chosen him. Why you persecuting me? He asked him, right? Why you persecuting me? He says, hard for thee to kick against the pricks. What he's saying is, you can't kick against this force. You know this spirit is more powerful than you. That's what he's saying. See? So that's why Paul is the 12th one, because Messiah personally chose him. So this man is an apostle. He was personally chosen, and he was personally chosen for the purpose of going to Gentiles with this message. Okay, so take a look. So he said, I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are of my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving in them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. If the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches were broken off, and thou, that is you Gentiles, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, among whom? Among the Israelite people. You were grafted into the Israelite people. See, Christianity got it twisted. They say they are the new Israelite people, but see, that's what he was warning against right here. They were grafted into Israel, not the other way around. Israel's not grafted into Christianity. See? But then again, there is no Christianity in the Bible. So let's continue. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Ooh. The olive tree is where you get the olive oil. The olive oil represents the Holy Ghost. Man, oh man. Let's continue. So they grafted in, right? They were wild tree. They weren't even the natural branch tree, grafted into the proper tree. Okay, let's continue. From verse 18 down to verse 23. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, this is what some Christians say now, the branches are broken off, that I might be grafted in. So, well, he says the apostle, because of unbelief, that is rebellion, they were broken off. Thou standest by faith. You ain't bloodline. You stand by faith. Don't be not high-minded, but fear, have respect, be humble. Understand what your situation is. For if Yah spared not the natural branches, take heed also that he spared not thee. Behold, the goodness and severity of Yah on them which fell severity, but on toward thee goodness, if thou continue in this goodness. Otherwise, thou shalt be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Yah is able to graft them in again. See? So it looks like at the time of this writing, there wasn't that many believing Israelites. They were diminished, scattered, as we know, Messiah said, right? Scattered. And yet the apostle is warning them, don't count them out. He's going to have a remnant. Number one. Don't get high and mighty. You ain't replacing them. You with them. Number two. Okay. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. Okay. So it appeared that the Israelites were going to be non-existent. And yet, Paul is saying they will be brought back into existence. Okay? He's saying they're going to be brought back into existence. It appeared they're going to be non-existent, but they're brought back into existence. Praise the Most High Yah. Praise Yah. Because it's been a couple of thousand years, right, since the Messiah. It's been a couple of thousand years. And since AD 70, when Messiah said, let's take a look at what he said there, Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21, Isha. Luke 21, we're going to go, yes, Luke chapter 21. Going to start at verse 20. And let's go down to verse 24. Luke chapter 21, from verse 20 to verse 24. Okay? And the Messiah is speaking here. And he said, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, unto them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So let's take a look now. Who is he talking about? He's talking about Israelites. He's talking about people in Judea. That's Israelites. And he's saying to who's listening to him, there's going to be all things that are written are going to be fulfilled. In other words, what I'm getting ready to tell you is already written in the prophets, and we know what it is, right? We know it is. And so it's written in the prophets, it's going to be fulfilled. And what are we talking about? He said, children, women with child going to be destroyed, ripped up. There's going to be wrath on this people. What's this people? He said that. And there's going to be wrath upon this people. He's talking about Israelites. Going to be wrath on Israelites. And when he says they, see, whenever I hear the word they, I'm wondering who they is. Like, who's he talking about? They. Who's they? Right? Like somebody say, they said. Well, who's they? Right? I don't know. It's just me. So when he said, and they shall fall by the sword, who's he talking about? He's talking about Israelites. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive. Israelites shall be led away captive. That's slaves into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Who were the Gentiles that trod down Jerusalem? And what he's talking about? These are the Romans. That's the Gentiles. Until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. That is the years or the age of the Gentiles. So there's an age, there's a time for the Gentiles. Well, I think we've been living it for 2,000 years, right? We've been living the times of the Gentiles. But obviously, he said there's going to come a fulfillment. In other words, an ending to the times of the Gentiles. It's going to come to an end until it be fulfilled. And as we just read in Romans chapter 11, the apostle said, if the natural branch were broken off and he put in there unnatural branches, certainly he can put the natural, if he grafted unnatural branches into the olive tree, which is Israel, he can graft the natural branches back in. And he also said, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we can see in these situations that the times of the Gentiles gonna come to an end. And of course, we have already saw in the book of Revelation, Gog and Magog coming at the city. Well, who's Gog and Magog? The Bible does tell us very plainly in the book of Genesis, chapter 5, that Gog and Magog make up the Gentiles. And we know that the Gentiles they're talking about come out of Europe. That's the origin. Okay, that's the origin. Until their time's fulfilled. And I think we can safely, I mean, anybody that, I can't speak for people that refuse to see, but I want to tell y'all the truth. For the last 2,000 years, Europeans been running this earth. They've been running this earth. There was kingdoms in Africa now. Timbuktu, the Ghanaian kingdom, the kingdom of Mali, but they got overrun by the Gentiles. Why do you think where Mali is now they speak French? French wasn't their language. Why do you think they speak French? Why does Angola speak Portuguese? That's not their language. Why does Ghana speak English? And Nigeria, they speak English. Now, they got their own languages too, but they speak these European languages. Why? Because they've been overrun by the Gentiles. It's prophecy. But now we are living at an age when the times of the Gentiles are being fulfilled. They're going to, and it's not like, that's what I'm saying. You got Caucasian people out here very, very nervous. They see too many brown people coming from Mexico. They're nervous. They're struggling. Sometimes the lower classes are struggling just like everybody else economically, but they're taking their leads from the people that's deceiving them and thinking that it has to do with Mexicans and black people and Spanish people. No. This is the times of the Gentiles being fulfilled. And all the marching, all the burning crosses, all the Confederate flags is not going to stop that. It is what it is. Just like y'all were given power, now it's time for y'all to lose it. It's just that time. And Messiah, remember what Messiah said? Love your enemies. Remember he said that? He said, love your enemies. Christians misapplied that term. Martin Luther King, bless him, rest in peace. And may he raise in the first resurrection, but he misapplied the term. Think about this. When Messiah was telling to turn the other cheek, he was talking to Israelites. He was talking to Israelites. He was telling Israelites love each other. And I think we can see today, black people don't love each other. They hate each other. Messiah knew that was coming, and he was trying to tell us love each other. Number one. And when he said to love your enemies, right? When he said to love your enemies, who were the enemies? It wasn't each other. It was the Romans. As Messiah was talking, there's Roman soldiers in the street. There's a Roman governor in Jerusalem. There's an Edomite king, Herod, too. See? So they got, what does that mean? Why was that the situation? It's because the Most High has said to y'all, to us, to our fathers, you're going to go into captivity. Don't fight it because it's coming, because you worship other gods. So that's why he's saying, don't fight with the Romans. Don't fight with them. Because there's a reason that they're ruling over you. Just like Jeremiah, if you look at Jeremiah chapter 26, if you look through the prophecy of Jeremiah, I'm of a mind that we might be going into Jeremiah after we finish Isaiah. Not official yet, but I'm thinking about that. But if you read the prophecy of Jeremiah, he is actually telling Israelites, surrender to the Babylonians. He's telling them, surrender to the Babylonians and save your life. Why? Because it was already determined that the city was going to be destroyed. Already determined, because they were worshiping other gods. It's already determined. So he said, surrender to the Babylonians. Save your life. Same situation. It's not that he's telling us, go out here and let these, police officers beat us up. That's not what he's saying. It's a natural thing for a man to protect himself. That's natural. Messiah wasn't telling you not to do that. He was trying to tell you while you're in captivity, whether you're in captivity in your own house, as the Romans had us, or we're in our enemy's land. Don't rise up and try to fight them. There's a reason you're in captivity. Now, the overthrow of earthly governments is coming from Messiah. He's preparing us for that overthrow, but we must be prepared with the seal of righteousness. You remember what the Messiah, what it said in Revelation chapter 19 that about the Messiah when he come with that sword. See, when he come with that sword, right? Like he did when he was leading Joshua and them into the promised land. Remember? See, everybody try to make this soft, flowery, homosexual looking Jesus, right? But when you look at Joshua, Joshua's book, Joshua chapter 5, he was standing there with a sword in his hand. And Joshua said, "You for us or for our enemy?" He said, "No, I'm captain of Yah's host." He was come, and you know what? The Canaanites had a problem. And Messiah here in Revelation 19 says, in righteousness he doth judge and make war. So in order for us to be prepared for that kingdom, we have to be covered in his righteousness. We can't think like human beings. We got to be higher. And his spirit is available to make us prepared for that. That's what he's trying to do. See, we're not going to overthrow this government here. Messiah is going to do it, though. And we're going to be with him, but we got to be ready. And we can't go ahead of Messiah. We got to take the preparation, which means his spirit, his word. Remember, in returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. That's what the word says. His thoughts are not our thoughts. He's higher than us. He wants to bring us up to him in spirit. He's seeking us. Remember, Father's seeking that. Okay. Let's go to a place that we're familiar with. Very familiar. Especially if you're an Israelite. But all of the Israelites, even you grafted in Gentile, y'all need to be familiar with this. So that when your brothers and cousins try to mock you, you can show them what it is. Ezekiel chapter 37 now. Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37 now. Wait a minute. Make sure y'all got me. Ezekiel 37, Isha. Ezekiel 37. We're going to start at verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1 and go down to verse 10. Ezekiel 37 from verse 1 to 10. And then we'll head over to Isaiah. Okay. Dang, I wish I could read this whole thing there, Gunny. We got to come back to it. We're going to get part of it in here, though. I'm telling you right now. All right, let's go from verse 1 to 10 to start us off. And this is Ezekiel the prophet, a priest of the Levite, tribe of Levi, or Levi, in captivity. He's in captivity when he's given this word. The hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O most high Yahweh, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus said the most high Yahweh unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and I will bring you up, and I will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live. And ye shall know that a higher Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking. And the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind. Prophecy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus saith the most high Yahweh, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain that they may live. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. That's where we at, brothers and sisters. And we coming out of the valley of dry bones. We didn't even exist, according to the world. And the Most High called us, awakening. And now we're awakening. What he doing next? He gonna blow his spirit on us. Remember now, Revelation chapter, we're not going to go there, but Revelation chapter 7, he was doing what? Holding back the winds of destruction until his servants are sealed. He said, hold the wind until we have sealed the servants in their forehead. The wind's coming now, about to be let loose. And his servants about to be sealed. See, brothers and sisters, all we got to do is hang on, man. Hang on. Don't worry about all this stuff you're seeing. We got a lot more to go to, believe me. But the Most High Yah is strong. We serve a strong God. He's a strong God. And he can keep us. He can keep us through anything. He can. And he will. We just got to hang on to him. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Praise the Most High. Yes, he will. Wait. Wait now. Isha, let's look at verse 12. You know, some of my brothers into numbers. I like numbers too. 12 is significant, right? 12, house of Israel, 12 apostles, 12, 12 tribes, right? 12th verse. I'm gonna go from verse 11 and 12. Verse 11 and 12. Let me not act the fool now. Verse 11 and 12. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophecy and say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you unto the land of Israel. I think that is pretty plain. And when you know, and I know, I could give you, talk about 2 or 3 witnesses. Since we read in Isaiah 29, I'm going to let that be the second witness, because there's a lot of witnesses, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of witnesses. I got a lot of more. I could go more into Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Zephaniah, Zechariah, Revelation. I could go I got a lot of more. But we ain't got time today. Suffice it to say, we're going to get the second witness out of Isaiah 29. Bringing up out of the dead and out of obscurity. You see, brothers and sisters, the second, when he says in Isaiah chapter 11, I'm gonna stretch my hand out the second time to recover the remnant of my people which shall be left, which he also says in Jeremiah chapter 23. When he says that, right, this is greater than the first recovery. See, the first recovery was out of the land of Ham, right? We were in Ham's land, and he recovered his people. He said, it's never been done in history that a nation was taken by their God out of another nation. That's what he said in Deuteronomy. That a nation was taken by their God out of another nation. Never been done. But the second time, I mean, that first one was so powerful that he created a feast off it. I mean, you get the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the Passover, right? From the first recovery. The second recovery, though, when we get, this is gonna be the Feast of Tabernacles, which he's setting up. This is gonna be even more powerful. Because why? Because we was in the Valley of Dead Bones. They thought we didn't exist anymore. They were so sure we didn't exist. They went and created some Ashkenazis to try to take our place. And then 1948 gave them fools our land. Edomites. But he got another thought for him. He got another thought for him. He got another thought for him. And he get ready to bring it to pass. He get ready to bring it to pass. He's preparing us right now. You see, brothers and sisters, when we are one with our Father through the Messiah and we understand who we are, and I mean that truth, like I said, this is Gentiles and Hebrews. Like when y'all understand what the situation really is and you really into the truth, brothers and sisters, what's happening around us doesn't matter. You see, to me, it's like I said, when me and my woman, my wife, I've been married 36 years, when we get into serious conversation and we looking into each other's eyes, and we still do that, it doesn't matter what's going on around us. I don't care what's around us. Who's ringing the phone? Don't matter. Because, it's just us now. You see what I'm saying? It's us. So like it's like that with the Father. So when you locked into the truth and you just letting him prepare you, you getting in his word, it don't matter what the president is doing, what plague they got, what Rome is doing, what the United Nations do, all that don't matter. Why? Because it's us. The rest of the world don't matter what's happening. See, there's always a lot of things happening on the earth. When he called them out of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness and said, listen, we're gonna have this feast out here, it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter what was going on in the earth. It didn't even matter what the other nations were doing. It didn't matter because it was them and him. And when you get to know your Father like that, and you get to understand Messiah and his righteousness, brothers and sisters, it's like when somebody mentions to me a church, it just, what? It's like, ew, ew. What do I need that for? It's like, my wife had an ex-boyfriend. And I said, remember so-and-so? She go, ew. Don't remind me of him. Ew. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. Church? What? Sitting in a pew with some reverend? What? Reaching your what? No, no. Oh, no, no, no. Why? Because I know the Father now. And I know his word. What I need with them for? Anyway, let's go to Isaiah chapter 29. I'm sorry I'm keeping y'all a little later, man. I don't mean to do that. I'm just being honest with you. I can't. I'm just one of these Negroes that just have to go with the flow with the spirit of the Father. I'd like to just do 10 minutes like some people do, or 15 minutes. I'd like to do that. Believe me. My wife said, you should just do 15 minutes. And she right, but I can't. I got to get into the word, man. I got to get into it. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm still mindful. Now I'm doing these live things. I'm seeing the clock, and I'm like, I don't want to keep you. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be able to, have people look at it. Somebody look. I know myself. I ain't in front. I look at somebody's video and they say hour or something. I ain't watching it. I'm just being honest with you. When I get together a playlist, man, them things will be 5 minutes or less. That's I'm like, I don't want to keep mine long, but here, look at hypocrite me, right? Shoot. Anyway, Isaiah chapter 29. Isaiah chapter 29. I'm gonna read from verse 1 to 4 to get us started. Isaiah chapter 29 from verse 1 to 4. Isaiah 29, 1 to 4. Starts off like this. Woe to Ariel, the city where David dwelt. Add ye year to year, let them kill sacrifices. Yet I will distress Ariel, and there shall be heaviness and sorrow, and it shall be unto me as Ariel. And I will camp against thee round about, and will lay siege against thee. We done read that already in Luke 21, right? And I will raise forts against thee. I will lay siege against thee with a mountain, and I will raise forts against thee. And thou shalt be brought down and shalt speak out of the ground, and thy speech shall be low out of the dust, and thy voice shall be as one that hath a familiar spirit out of the ground, and thy speech shall whisper out of the dust. Let me break this down for you. First of all, Ariel. The word Ariel, or our owl, it means lion of Yah, or lion of the Most High. That's what Ariel means. It means, lion of the Most High, right? That's what Ariel means. And obviously it's talking about here. It says it's a city where David dwelt. It's telling you specifically a place that represents a lion, the lion of Yah, and it's in a city that David dwelt. Where is that? Come on now, y'all know, right? I ain't got to, right? See, I praise Yah because that's how the Bible does things. It gives you the setup, and then you have to understand that there's only one thing for the setup. Like if it tells you out of the Roman Empire is going to come a religious power led by one man that's going to be around at the end of the age, you kind of know that's the Roman Catholic Church, right? Coming out of the Roman Empire, out of Rome, led by one man in the end of the age, and it's religious. It's Catholic Church, right? So it doesn't say Catholic Church, but it gives you all the indications. For example, the Israelites, they look like ancient Egyptians. They get mistaken for dark-skinned Egyptians. They went into slavery on ships. They were scattered all over the earth, and they're the poorest people wherever they go. And they're always a byword in the enemy's land. They were taken captive into the enemy's land. Ain't but one people on earth that fit that description, right? So here he said, Ariel, which is line of the Most High, a city where David dwelt. A line of the Most High is a city where David dwelt. It's Jerusalem, obviously, right? It's Jerusalem. Okay, obviously. So he said, I'm going to distress Ariel. I'm going to distress the city of Jerusalem. I'm going to distress. Therefore, he's talking about Israel. I'm gonna distress Israel. And but what no, what he said. First, of course, he said, I'm gonna lay a camp against thee, roundabout, lay siege against thee, mount again, raise the forts against thee. In other words, I'm gonna have enemies come and destroy you, which he did several times, like a couple of times anyway. We know Babylon did it and the Romans did it, right? So we know that that's the case. Then in verse 4, he said, here, you're gonna be like as one speaking out of the ground. What that means, brothers and sisters, if you recall, when the prophet Samuel died, maybe you don't know this, it's in 1 Samuel, but when the prophet Samuel died, Saul was really distressed because he had gotten so caught up in the power that he wasn't listening to Samuel anyway, and Samuel wasn't even talking to him. So Samuel died. Saul found himself in a situation where he was outmanned by the Philistines, and he felt, bad omens coming. So he went to a witch, the witch of Endor. And he went there for her to call up the spirit of Saul. She was a witch. And so she said, I see a spirit coming up out of the ground. Now that was a devil posing as Samuel, because the dead don't know anything. Dead can't come back to life unless they resurrected by the Most High. So once you dead, you ain't coming back. You see a ghost of somebody you think is your relative, it ain't them. Or you got a dream about your dead relative, it ain't them. It's a devil. Because when they're dead, they dead until it's resurrection time. They dead. They ain't coming back. Okay, until it's resurrection time. So he saw Samuel come up out of the ground. He saw his old man. She said, old man comes up out of the ground. She said, he didn't see it. She saw it. And the witch said, I see an old man with a mantle coming up out of the ground. And then Saul said, it is Samuel. And he bowed down. So here it's saying that we're going to be like that. Like we dead. Like we dead. Like we don't exist anymore. And it's only like some spirit that somebody might call up, like a familiar spirit. That's how the Israelites were going to be. Listen, is that the truth now? Like as a nation, right? Nobody calls us Israelites. What they call you? Negroes. What they call you, nigga? What they call you? They don't call you Israel. But that's what you are, right? Because it's like we dead. Even I heard people, certain preachers from Caucasian Christian churches say, well, them Ashkenazis are not the real Israelites, but they never say who the real Israelites are because they always think that we just don't exist anymore, right? That's the truth about it. I'm being honest, right? I don't want to offend anybody. I'm just trying to try to tell you all the truth. So the Bible predicted that and said it's going to be like you're just dead, like you're gone, like you don't exist. That's Isaiah right there, chapter 29, verse 4. Like a whisper out of the dust, like something that used to be, but is no more. You can't tell me the word don't cover it all, man. See, it's all here. We just ain't looking for it. The Father's Spirit will lead us like a laser. Any place it's here, man. It's all here. It's all in this word. Anything you need to know is here. If you ain't know it, if you ain't find it, it's not because it ain't here, because you ain't found it. See, that's why we gotta be humble. When I don't know something, it ain't because I ain't gonna say the word doesn't say that. It ain't about what somebody say nowhere in the Bible. I heard that term so many times. Whenever somebody say nowhere in the Bible, I'll be like, man, let me just get out of here because this fool don't know what he's talking about. What they really mean to say is they have not found it. Now, there are some things you can say nowhere in the Bible. Like nowhere in the Bible does it say Messiah is going to start some new religion. Doesn't say that. Let's continue. Isaiah chapter 29. Let's go from verse 5. Yes, let's go from verse 5 down to verse 8. Isaiah 29 from verse 5 to 8. Moreover, the multitude of thy strangers shall be like small dust, and the multitude of the terrible ones shall be as chaff that passes away. Yea, it shall be at an instant suddenly. Thou shalt be visited of Yahweh of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest, the flame of devouring fire. And the multitude of all the nations that fight against Ariel, even all that fight against her and her munition, and that distress her, shall be as a dream of a night vision. I'll go into that in a second. And it shall even be as when a hungry man dreameth, and behold, he eateth, but he awakeneth, and his soul is empty. Or as when a thirsty man dreameth, and behold, he drinketh, but he awakeneth, and behold, he is faint, and his soul hath appetite. So shall the multitude of all nations be that fight against Zion. So, in other words, look, we're going to be like we don't exist. Everybody, all these Gentile nations are going to be ruling over us. But then when it's all over, when the kingdom is established and this age is ended and a new age of the Messiah starts, it's going to be like it was a bad dream. That's what it's going to be like. It was a bad dream. You know what the Bible says in this book of Isaiah? It said that the former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. You know what that is? When you see something that's so overwhelmingly awesome, above your understanding, you forget what it was like before. Like you can't remember. Like that happens even now. Like I go to certain places. Like I went to New York City, and I used to work where the Twin Towers was. I used to work there. And I didn't work in the building, but I mean, I used to come out of the subway from underneath those two buildings every day. And I remember, but then when I came down there a couple of times since, in the last couple of years, I can't remember what it looked like anymore because the new stuff, the new building is up there, and I can't remember. I even get lost a little bit. I used to know my way from where the Twin Towers. There was like a landmark. I used to know my way all around there, no problem. My wife used to work not far from there too. But now it looks so different. I can't remember what it looked like. I can't remember. I see some things that kind of look like, because there's still stuff that was there, but it's different. And that's how it is, brothers and sisters. When he makes the new kingdom and he takes away sin and destroys all this mess and makes his own, we make the kingdom here, you won't even remember. It'll be like it was a bad dream. And the only way you're going to know what happened is by the Messiah, the marks in his hands and on his head and on his feet. That's going to remain. The wound's going to remain. And that's how we're going to know what it costs for us to be there. Remember, Zechariah said, what are these wounds in thy hands? And he said, that which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Who's asking him that? These are us and the inhabitants of the kingdom. What are these wounds in your hands? What is this? What is this, master? That which I was wounded in the house of my friends. It's going to be like it was a bad dream. These last 2,000 years, like it was a bad dream. And we praise y'all for that. That's why if you look at Revelation chapter 19, the beginning of that chapter, the glory and the praise that we're offering. I can't even do it proper here because I'm not there yet. You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine living in an atmosphere where there's no sin no more, no more liars, no more death, no more disease and sickness and plagues, no more crime, no more poverty-stricken people. Doesn't exist. No man will be without. Every man will have. No unfairness, no unrighteousness, no liars. We can't imagine that because we've been born and raised around death. All of us. You live in the world, we live in the world of death, man. We understand what death is. We see that all the time. We understand what disease is. We see that all the time. We got to put locks on our doors and on our cars and mess because we know people might steal it. We understand that. But to live in a world where that doesn't exist anymore, we don't know nothing about that. And to think we could get it by the Father's righteousness. We could get it because he's offering us the ticket. What are you asking us? Keep my commandments. And then when you look in the mirror and say, man, I can't keep your commandments. I'm so weak. I like this. I like that. He said, okay, that's no problem. I got that covered. You just admitted to me your weakness. Let me pour my spirit on you and cause you to keep my commandments. Let me give you a new mind. Let me give you a new heart and cause you to want to keep my commandments and do it. Give me that all day, every day, 24/7. Give me that. That's how you make it. And you just hang on to it. And you reinforce it day by day. That's how you make it. And then all of a sudden you be having a thirst for his word. You'll have a thirst for righteousness. You want to do what he wants you to do. You have a zeal even to do it. You'll be on fire. And you'll stay on fire. Praise the Most High Yah. Because the fire of righteousness don't go out. Praise Yah. Praise Yah. You know, when I was in Christian churches, and some of y'all can testify, when I was in Christian churches, right? The only people that be on fire were the new people. Y'all remember that? When people are new to the church, when they just heard the message or whatever, they got born again, they would be on fire. And then as they stay in the church a few years, that fire dies out. You see, people in Christian churches don't grow in the spirit. Their growth is marked in how many people they get to come to church. That's how that's how Christian churches are growing. How many people they get to come to church. And how long have you been in the church? That's what it is. So somebody say, how long? Oh, 25 years. Oh, well, so-and-so been in church 25 years. It ain't about how much spirit you're grown. It ain't about how much knowledge of the word you gain over your years of experience with it. It's about how long you've been in church. And you're not on fire no more. That fire goes out. But the fire of Yah's righteousness, man, never goes out. I get excited about that every time I think about it, man. Sometimes y'all see me cry. Sometimes I get so, done something to you, man. You know, Jeremiah says, like a fire in your bones. You can't, and I can't make that up. It's just there, man. It's this truth. It's the spirit of the Father that bless you so. We're going to continue tomorrow. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here at verse 8. And we're going to continue tomorrow. We got some important stuff to go over in this chapter tomorrow. Man, Isaiah is so powerful, man. I'm telling you, every time it's like chapter 29 is power 30, 31, 32. Man, we getting some food, boy. I ain't lying. Let's have a word of prayer. Let me. Most High Yah, we just give you the praise. We give you the honor. We give you the glory. We don't even deserve the half of what you do for us. Please continue to guide and direct our steps for the purpose of us being obedient to your law, for your spirit of righteousness, that we might be honor and glory to your name, that we might be living epistles. In the name of the Messiah, Yahweh, shall we pray. Amen.